Let me open this review by telling you that I did not see Michael Mohan's Immaculate, which came out a few weeks ago, and to which my fellow critics have labeled this Omen prequel nearly a carbon copy. Having not seen that film, I can safely judge this movie on its own. So with that in mind, let's proceed. I can also tell you that the first Omen is a movie that I only saw because it got some very positive reviews. Otherwise, I probably would have skipped it. Prequels to me always seem a little desperate, and to be honest, I've never really been a fan of this series to begin with. The central flaw for me is that it depicts a supposed battle between the forces of heaven and hell, but apparently believes that in such a clash, God would be asleep at the wheel. I mean, you might imagine that the Almighty would do something about a cult of nutwax who want to birth the demon child who would be the Antichrist, but this is a movie, and you're not supposed to think about that. That is still the persistent problem in this pretty obvious sequel, but I'm kind of in the middle with it. It's the best film in the franchise, but I don't agree with critics who hail it as a successful throwback to 70s horror. I think Late Night with the Devil did a much better job with that. The first Omen is a great-looking movie with a terrific tone and a creepy atmosphere, and it goes places that I didn't expect. And it's just me, but there's a twist as we approach the third act that I did not see coming. There's a girl that we expect to be the victim of the cult, but it didn't turn out to be her. I will say no more. The movie takes place in 1971 and stars Nell Tiger-Free as Sister Margaret, an American novice nun who comes to Rome to take the veil, but almost immediately finds that things are wildly off-kilter. Not to give too much away, but there are doings about in the convent that seem really outside the permissiveness of the church, and in a nice nod to Rosemary's Baby, she slowly finds that all around her are not who they seem, and allies are hard to come by. At least not until the closing scenes. I like the fact that you know that it's leading up to the birth of Damon Thorne, but that doesn't mean it feels like a forced march. The movie has a narrative structure that at least lets us learn what is happening along with Sister Margaret. You're there with her as the movie slips into a not too subtle narrative about reproductive rights, coupled with the early 70s revolutionary period when religion was on the wane and all kinds of sinister elements were coming to light. Things like governmental conspiracy, cult manipulation, and serial killers. Those elements are present, but they're not forced in. I just wish that director Arkasha Stevenson would bring the movie out of the rafters a little bit. One of the things that was notable about the best horror films of the early 70s were those moments of unsettling quiet and the slow build-up of terrible things. Think of the opening of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or those scenes in The Exorcist where it's just the characters trying to figure out what is happening. Those passages are few and far between in the first Omen, and the music and the noise and the fancy editing are ramped up to 11 in every scene. I like a movie that lets the environment breathe a little bit. Still, this is not a bad movie. It tries harder than most. I just would have liked a little more restraint and a little more palpable tension. I give it a B. I'm Jerry Dean Roberts, and I'll see you next time.
Look like an angel, walk like an angel.